Hey guys, today we are going to talk about invasives. One very specific invasive, one that in the name of beautification we have allowed to propagate and expand way beyond our yards and things that we maintain regularly. But if you haven't figured it out, I'm talking about the Bradford pear. You know, the one that was pitched to everybody as being sterile, it won't reproduce, but somehow, some way, Mother Nature figures out a way to survive and reproduce. And that is exactly what happened with the Bradford pear. Here's some little fruit hanging on here from last year. So birds will come along and eat that. And then they'll go sit up here on this limb right here and do their business, and boom, they just planted another Bradford pear, or callery pear. I don't know all the science behind it. I just know they're bad. There's a lot of them on this little strip of ground right here, and I'm gonna start killing them. So what do we need to get rid of these Bradford pears? Chainsaw and some herbicide. Lots of cocktails you can use. I actually had plenty of glyphosate, so I'm using a really strong mixture of glyphosate with a little bit of blue dye, because I'm probably gonna cut down a bunch of trees, come back and treat them all. It's pretty simple. I'm gonna top off my bar oil, and we're gonna get started cutting. So I know a lot of people are going to ask how to identify these trees. Well, that's the easiest way. Those pretty little white blooms, they kind of stink. They don't kind of stink, they really stink. And then they're going to be one of the first trees that are going to leaf out or bloom and leaf out in your area. You can see this one right here has already bloomed a lot, and the leaves are coming on. But don't just cut it down because it's got blooms on it. Learn to identify the tree, how it branches. It has almost like thorns on it. It looks a lot different than like our native plums and things like that. So learn to identify, look up some pictures. Picture this is a great app to help identify. Let's kill this tree. It'll soak in that herbicide, and I'll come back, check these, make sure they're not coming back from the roots or anything. But I'd say that's a graveyard dead tree. About 200 more to go. Since we're on the topic of invasives, how about originally from Japan hails the king of invasiveness, multiflora rose. Maybe not the king, but it's dang nasty. While I'm not going to battle this sucker today with my chainsaw because of the thorns, I will come back with my pole saw and I'll work that sucker over and give it the same treatment as the Bradford pears. So while I take a break from killing Bradford pear trees, I wanted to talk to you guys about the design of this little travel corridor here, why it made sense to put it here, and how we're going to maintain it to keep it from becoming unuseful. So I don't know if you can see the ridge over there. This used to be all one field, and that's a little high spot over there. Right here in the middle is low, and then behind me in this field it's high. So basically you've got this little valley that leads from this big block of timber back here to this big block of timber that's up here in front of us. And all we did was stop mowing this. Now this, a lot of this field had been planted for some reason with oak trees years ago. So we left those oak trees in there. The ones that are out in this field have been removed. Anyway, we just stopped mowing it, stopped maintaining it, stopped taking care of it, whatever you want to call it, and let Mother take over. This is just succession at its finest, I guess you would say. And there's everything from eastern red cedar. There's a pine tree right there, probably loblolly. I don't know pine trees. It's a darn pine tree. There's oaks in there. There's ash, winged elm, sycamore, persimmon. I see a little red oak right there. Man, there's all kinds of stuff in there, and a lot of it is really good stuff. But then we've got all those Bradford pears. We got multiflora rose. We got too much eastern cedar, and we're gonna remove a lot of that stuff. But deer utilize this heavily to travel from point A to point B, and you can see the sign. I mean, there's sign everywhere through there. When I hang up this phone right here, lay this camera down, I'm gonna walk this strip and see if I can find any antlers, because there's a lot of rubs and scrapes and heavy deer trails in there, more so than are out here in this field. So anyway, that's the purpose of this. If I get a chance, I'll plug in a little map and show you kind of how it makes sense, what it does. Maybe that'll explain it a little bit better. But you've got a giant field. You want to make it a little more manageable, more huntable, I guess, more well-defined travel corridors or travel routes. It's a great idea. You can do this. If you'll capitalize on the contour of the land, it'll be even better. Just like this one goes up this valley, those deer are going to travel there and feel safe and secure. They're not exposed. They're not silhouetted on the top of a hill. They've got lots of great cover.